All right, let me tip this up a little bit. And I look like I'm ready to go. And let's get going. We'll jump on the show here. And welcome to Back Talking, everybody. I am Todd Wigurski. Back Talking is the show where we discuss all things related to the back or spine. We're not talking about bratty kids. So this is our 5th time around on Blab. So starting to get the hang of it with a few tweaks each and every week. So happy to be here. But maybe some of you are finding me for the first time and are wondering who I am. So again, I'm Todd Wigurski. I'm a doctor of chiropractic, and I'm also an acupuncturist. I live and practice in Cary, North Carolina, which is a suburb of Raleigh. I've been in practice since 1997, so I'm entering my 19th year of being in practice. But when you throw in school, I've been studying and learning about backs for over 20 years. And I also have degrees in industrial engineering and did that before becoming a chiropractor. And I'm also an athlete, definitely not at the same level as I used to be, but I still get out there and play hockey on Monday nights. Now, the advantage of the Back Talking show is that you get me, a real live person who has spent the past 20 years helping people with low back pain or back pain in general. This is what I do. I'm speaking to you from one of my treatment rooms. I just finished up the morning session. And I'm here to talk to you. So you get to interact with me live weekly. Every Friday at 1 o'clock, I'm here. So the show is my way to help those who are having back problems and have questions and are seeking answers about their troubles. So the format of these Blab episodes are what I call spinal grand rounds, where I present a real life case to you. This is someone's story. This is somebody's journey. These are real people that have walked through my door. So you can follow along and maybe see the similarities between what you or someone that you know are dealing with. It's also meant to be very educational. You can never have too much information when you are dealing with a bad back. Now, last week we talked about Sheila, the 54-year-old office worker who was dealing with an annular tear in one of her discs. If you missed that, you can check it out at our website, backtalkinghelp.com. It's located under the video shows tab on the homepage. You can also find the audio on the podcast version of the show, which is Back Talking. And you can find me on iTunes and on Stitcher. And as always, you can reach out to me. Let me come around to my screen. Let me tip that down. Let's see. And here I am, Todd Wigurski. You can reach out to me, Todd at backtalkinghelp.com. Again, it's Todd at backtalkinghelp.com. You can also email me or text me. That's what I meant to say. Text me. Here's my phone number, 919-439-4360. So again, 919-439-4360. Reach out to me. I want to know what you're dealing with and what troubles you're having. So without further ado, I just want to jump into the show. Let me just make sure everybody's in focus. Let's see how we do. And let's jump in. And our spinal grand round case of the day. Today we're going to talk about Jason. He's a 28-year-old male who is a programmer engineer at a local software company. He has no history of lower back pain. He's in decent shape, used to play a lot of sports in his youth, but is now starting a family and remodeling a home. So the bulk of his free time is spent with the family and the new house. So about 2 weeks ago, he had a truckload of mulch dumped on his driveway. He spent the next 2 days with a wheelbarrow, a shovel, and a rake, spreading that mulch around his yard. And after the first day, he was generally sore. But it was the morning after day 2 that he was really a mess. He had a hard time getting up. His wife had to help him dress and put his shoes on. And as the next several days went on, he improved And he says that he was at about 80% by the end of the week. So that weekend, he starts to rip out a deck that was rotted on the back of his house and begins to rebuild that. Now, he states that nothing that he did in any of those days was too taxing. He can't recall a single incident that he can trace his back pain to. He denies any falls or any kind of recent trauma. Now he's in constant pain. It's a dull ache with sharp pain with movements. He's really struggling to get around. Now at home, he's been taking ibuprofen. It helps to take the edge off the pain, but he's been taking the medication for several weeks now, and he's beginning to get a little bit concerned about the amount that he's taken and its effect on his body. He's been applying icy hot to his lower back area as well. He's been using a heating pad at night as well. And he's been confused because he's been confused about the whole heat ice thing. Changing positions from sitting to standing is very difficult and actually quite painful to watch. Getting out of bed, riding in the car, and sitting at his desk at work are extremely challenging tasks at this point in time. Now, his exam findings. Jason is 6'4" and weighs in around 190 pounds. He's tall and lanky. To get him to stand up from the sitting position, it takes him about 10 seconds to get fully upright. He points to his lower back and then up the spine towards his shoulder blades as the painful sight. It's almost inhumane to have him attempt the lumbar spine range of motion exam, so I stop him pretty quickly. Muscle strength, reflexes, and sensation are all normal in the legs or lower extremities. Orthoneuro tests are also inconclusive. His lumbar paraspinal musculature is like palpating the wall. It's so tight and in so much spasm, and it's also very tender to touch. So Jason has the diagnosis of a lumbar strain with accompanying myofasciitis. Myofasciitis is the inflammation of a muscle and its fascia. Fascia is the tough membrane that kind of covers a muscle. So this diagnosis is pretty much arrived at through his history. There were no slips or falls or anything to think of a sprain injury as well. And you also always have the potential for a disc injury, given the amount of work that he was doing, especially in the flexed or bent over posture. He was shoveling, bending over and ripping boards off his deck, and then bending over and installing new boards. Bending and twisting is one of the worst things you can do to your back. So a disc injury is always in your list of differential diagnosis. But given the amount of time that he did, or given the amount of work rather that he did in a short period of time, this is more likely to be a simple strain of the back muscles. So treatment begins on Jason. We begin treatment basically aimed at reducing his symptoms. He has pain at L5 and S1, L5, S1 and above, so we start our focus there, and we choose electrical stimulation to help reduce the muscle spasms in his lower back. We use manual therapy and myofascial release techniques in an attempt to get the muscles to relax. We also hope to help get the stagnant blood and its associated waste products out of the muscles. Chiropractic manipulation was directed at L5S1, and it's used to provide movement and motion at that segment. Now, what is part of basically everybody's therapy here is what I call learning to protect you from you. Simple everyday tasks can irritate and are typically the cause of someone's troubles. Getting out of bed, out of a chair, out of your car, off the toilet, standing at the sink, brushing your teeth. These are all activities of life that are problematic. So spine sparing techniques were taught to him The principles of the hip hinge and abdominal stiffness were demonstrated. Also, no more heating pad. We switched him over to using ice. Now, sprain versus strain. I just want to take a side note here and talk about what is a sprain and what is a strain. Now, a sprain is an injury involving the stretching or tearing of a ligament. So a sprain is involvement of a ligament. A strain is an injury involving the stretching or tearing of a muscle. So we strain muscles and we sprain ligaments. The easiest way to think of this is a ligament sprain. So we sprain our ankle and muscles strain. That's just one easy way to remember. Now, muscle strains can occur from acute trauma, such as like a sprinter pulling a hamstring, or they can occur from a cumulative effect of overuse or repetitive stress, such as sitting in front of a computer, slouched for hours at a time, causing upper back and shoulder pain, or the newest issue, text neck. Yes, text neck is actually a new problem. Sitting for hours looking down at the screen of your phone. Now, the following principle is universal and applies to any body part. Tissue overload causes tissue damage, which may or may not cause pain. Now, I have to throw in that distinction because some tissues don't have a nerve supply, so they don't generate pain. But typically, again, remember this, tissue overload causes tissue damage, which may or may not cause pain. That's a universal principle that I want you to know and remember. So another side note on the confusion between using heat and ice. It's all about the blood flow. With heat causes blood vessels to dilate. They get bigger, which means more blood flows into the area. So heat causes blood vessels to dilate, which means more blood flow. Ice, on the other hand, causes them to constrict. They get smaller. We have less blood flow capabilities with a smaller blood vessel. So heat causes them to dilate. Ice causes them to constrict. Now, tissue damage that we just talked about causes inflammation. The blood vessels leak due to histamines, causing swelling to occur. So histamines is a chemical that's released with tissue damage. It causes your blood vessels to leak, and that promotes swelling, inflammation, histamine, swelling. That's why you take an antihistamine. Say you get stung by a bee or you're having an allergic reaction. An antihistamine reduces swelling. So you can never go wrong with ice, but you can with heat. So when you're in doubt, choose ice. And I also wanted to take a minute and talk about topical balms or ointments and gels and such. These are various products that you may recognize as Icy Hot, Tiger Balm, Bengay, Biofreeze, or old-fashioned liniment, just to name a few. Now, these just sit on the skin and give a warm or cool sensation. These don't penetrate in to the skin to get down to the source of the pain. So they are essentially a distractant. You see, the brain doesn't multitask pain or stimulation very well. It pays attention to whatever is barking the loudest, so to speak. And in this case, those topical gels or liniments or oils are making the skin feel hot or cool. So that forces your brain is like, whoa, something's going on here. So it's essentially a distractant. Doesn't get down to the core of the problem. All right. So lumbar muscle strains typically turn around very quickly. Once the cause is removed, and in this case, Jason doing all that yard work and deck rebuilding, when we remove the cause, the body can recover. The improvement is rather dramatic day over day, day after day. And these typically resolve in just 1 to 2 weeks, typically, which was the case for Jason. Most importantly, the lifestyle modifications that everybody should learn, teaching people how to move so that they don't hurt themselves over and over and over again. I can't put a body cast on you to protect that area. So we have to use the hip hinge and the abdominal brace to protect ourselves. And finally, I can never say enough about exercise. The recommended guidelines are that we get 30 minutes a day of moderate intensity exercise. This goes a long way to help build up our endurance, strength, and cardiovascular fitness. 30 minutes a day. So Q&A time. I'm looking out to the panel and I don't have any questions coming in at this time. So let's flip around. I'm just going to hang out for a few minutes, see if anybody jumps in and wants to talk. But next time around, next Friday at 1 o'clock, we'll be back on the air. We're going to be talking about lumbar spine arthritis. So lumbar spine arthritis. If you got a topic for discussion, reach out to me. Todd at backtalkinghelp.com. Again, it's Todd at backtalkinghelp.com. This is on the website. Leave me a message, comment, text. Back at the beginning, my phone number was on the screen. So give me a call. Let me know what you're struggling with, folks. I'm here for you. And I'll catch you next time on Back Talking.